Okay, let's recap the weekend series against the Milwaukee Brewers.
You are Locked On A's, your daily Oakland A's podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, A's fans, and welcome to Locked On A's, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about your Oakland A's all year long, and this is the final season in Oakland. And I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please, I'm begging you to just call me Sully. I've been a baseball podcaster for a while now, and I've been the host of Locked On MLB for the last 6 years. And this year I'm doing double duty. So you got 10 episodes of me a week if you listen to both Locked On A's and Locked On MLB. Follow us at Locked On A's on Twitter or whatever it's called now. And on Instagram, I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. And if you're listening to the shows and you're putting something on the social media, make sure to put that hashtag Everyday A's. And that way we can keep track of who's actually listened to us. And believe it or not, that actually comes in handy. Today's episode of Locked On A's has a sponsor. I don't remember who it is. Oh, it's Supply House. SupplyHouse.com is a reliable way to get parts fast. Shop for your plumbing, h-vac, and electrical job and get fast shipping from coast to coast at SupplyHouse.com. Coast to Coast was the name of a movie with Robert Blake and Diane Cannon. I do not remember if it's any good. I just remember it was on HBO a lot. And it was, they had Mozart during the opening credits. Okay, why did I just mention that? Because that's more interesting than talking about the A's 11-3 loss. The A's jumped out against Milwaukee. And look, we all knew this was going to be a hard series. The Milwaukee Brewers are one of the best teams in the National League. They have an outside chance to win the pennant this year. In fact, not even outside. They're going to win the division. And they're a good, solid team. I think the most interesting thing about the Brewers is they haven't had a big, long losing streak. They haven't had a big, long winning streak. They've just been consistent. Slow and steady is going to win this race to the top of the National League Central. Now, we all know Philadelphia can get hot, but they can also get cold. We all know Los Angeles can get hot. And we saw what happened with Shohei Ohtani over the weekend. But they can get ice cold. Atlanta can get ice cold. San Diego, Arizona, they all can have great hot streaks, terrible losing streaks. But the Brewers, the chugga, the proverbial tortoise in the hare, and next thing you know, the Brewers have won the division handily without anything major going wrong. Yes, they've lost Yelich, but every team has had injuries. Just ask the Dodgers. They asked me to pitch last week. So we knew Milwaukee was going to be a good team. But I also felt the matchup of Sears versus Savali actually favored Oakland. And as I've always preached, and if you've been listening to this show for this entire season, I know I have, you know that I preach win that first game. Put the team on their heels. Well, Butler came out, homered in the first, and okay, now we're talking. And we got a good pitcher like Sears going. This could go well. And that good feeling lasted all the way to the second inning. And Rhys Hoskins hit that 3-run home run. And I thought, oh, dear. How could things get worse than this? And Joey Ortiz said, hold my beer. And he hit a home run. And that wonderful 1-0 first inning lead turned into a 5-1 hole. And, Sears let up 7 runs. 2 of them were earned because sloppy fielding by Geloff and Andujar helped put 2 unearned runs on. And the A's had a shot. They chased Savali from the game. They had the bases loaded. The score was 7-2, but Max Schumann was at the plate. And if Schumann had just gotten a single, obviously we all want him to hit a grand slam. Next thing you know, it's 7-6. A single would make it 7-4. And the difference just mentally between 7-2 and 7-4 is a lot. And so what did they get out of that inning? What did they get out of that fourth inning? They did get the 2 runs, but it looked like it was going to be a big explosive inning. The difference, those 2 runs, just psychologically, just sort of torpedoed the A's. And the final score was 11-3. And it really just, even the minute it got to be 7-1, and they couldn't make it closer than 7-3. Those middle innings, 5th through 8th, was just like, it's not happening tonight. Now, good for Ross Stripling taking over his new role of basically the connective tissue. Stripling pitched 4 1/3 innings. The A's did not have to weed out their bullpen. And by the way, that's a lost art. I talked about that a little bit on the episode, if you listened on Sunday, of Locked On MLB. The whole parade of relievers of, you're going to pitch an inning, then you pitch an inning, then you pitch an inning, then you pitch an inning. Always, you're always assuming that each pitcher is going to throw a good, solid inning. There's never any wiggle room. If a pitcher pitched well, came out of the bullpen, pitched the 5th, have a pitch the 6th. But no, everyone has to pitch their 1 inning. I like having a pitcher come out like Stripling to say, okay, everybody, I'm going to pitch until I no longer can. He gave him 4 1/3 innings of shutout ball. If the A's had rallied or just put a couple of runs up every once in a while, they could have come back. But if nothing else, the A's have a pretty rested bullpen for the Saturday afternoon game. It stinks to lose game 1 because now the A's have to be perfect in Saturday and Sunday if they actually want to win the series. But it didn't happen. And Milwaukee's good. Now, the silver lining of what happened on Friday is the Angels got Angel. And Manasseh, their general manager, got a contract extension. They said, hey, you're about to have the longest losing streak of most consecutive losing seasons in baseball. We could assume KC is going to have a winning year, and Detroit has a chance to have a winning season. So it'll be the Angels having, best case scenario is the Angels, they'll be tied for the worst losing streak in baseball in terms of consecutive years with a losing team. And here we go. They've extended him, saying, good job. You couldn't put a mediocre team around Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani. You couldn't have a team that played 500 with those 2 on there. Let's give them more years. So that's good news for the A's, because that means they took a look at this team and said, yeah, keep it up. And the Angels collapsed in the 9th inning again. So while the A's were beaten up by a quality Milwaukee team, the Angels wet the bed against a falling like a rock Toronto team, and the A's continue to be in 4th place by themselves. The Rangers won, so there's now 5 games separate those 2. The A's want to catch the Rangers. They can't afford to lose a lot of games, but you're going to have games like this. The Brewers were just better. That's all there is to it. The A's played sloppy baseball, and the Brewers just were better. And Savali didn't pitch great, that's for sure. But guess what? Hudson, Piamps, McGill, and Ross, they did the job. Pitched 5 shutout innings out of the bullpen. And, at some point, you say, here's a team that's going to win the division for the 2nd straight year, came in and clobbered the A's. It's going to happen. So what you got to do is thank Stripling, saying you got a full rested bullpen. Now let's go out on Saturday, win this, and next thing you know, you win this game, then you're putting us into a chance for a rubber match on Sunday. So you already know what happened, but I don't. So let's just bring on Saturday. Now let's talk a little bit about our friends over at Supply House. Order supplies from the website that's made for the skilled trades. Find thousands of parts from hundreds of brands in just a couple of clicks at supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse.com gives you 24/7 access to a huge selection of plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with fast delivery anywhere in the U.S. Need help with an order? Get industry-leading after-sales service from their friendly and knowledgeable customer support team. Talk to a real person every time. There's great news for plumbers, technicians, and contractors. Being a pro has its perks. Trade industry professionals can join their free Trade Master program for free shipping and serious discounts on every order. Over 100,000 pros already trust the TradeMaster program to deliver results. Apply for your membership today and get a competitive edge on every order at supplyhouse.com/TM. Save money and time when you order online. Order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from supplyhouse.com. Real people and real service at supplyhouse.com. Hey, thanks so much for making Locked On A's your first listen. For your second listen, enjoy more of me, your pal Sully, at the Locked On MLB podcast. I'm there to give you the national perspective of baseball with my particular point of view. I'm going to get you ready for the Major League Baseball playoffs here in the dog days of summer. Prepare for the Fall Classic with me, your pal Sully. Got to cover it every single day at Locked On MLB, available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. All right, the score was a lot closer than on Friday. I'm talking about the Saturday game here. But the result was eerily similar. Both games started with the A's getting a first inning home run. This time was from Bleday. And both times the starter couldn't hold the lead for a single inning. This time it was Boyle who coughed up 3 runs in the top of the second inning. And once again, the A's got behind the proverbial 8 ball. Were down 5-1 before they came up to bat in the 5th. Now, you all thought when they started chipping away, I thought there was a shot. I really did. This one felt a little different. Bowers hit that home run, made 5-1, but then Rooker hit the home run. Suddenly it's 5-3. 5-3 is a lot better than 5-1. And then Daz Cameron came off the bench and got the double. But they just would not have that shutdown inning. They immediately, the Brewers got the Mitchell double in the 8th, and then all hell broke loose in the 9th. And by that point, it was done. Rooker had a great game. Rooker got on base 4 times. He drove in 3 runs. But once again, the A's were relying too much on the home runs. They got 3 out of their 5 runs on homers, and one of them was a garbage time one. And they couldn't get the shutdown inning. Now, look, we all have to come to some sort of a grip about this particular Milwaukee Brewer team. They are not getting the publicity of the Los Angeles Dodgers. They're not getting the publicity of the Yankees or the Phillies. But they're a really good baseball team. And Ray may not have pitched great today, but he pitched well enough. And there's that key stat, and it's a key stat that I keep bringing up during some of the A's wins. And you saw it during an A's loss today. Yes, Ray let up too many hits. He pitched into the 7th inning. Heaven forbid they let a pitcher go deep in the game. They did. Milwaukee said, we're going to have him keep going. No need to burn out the bullpen. He did let up 8 hits, including 2 homers. But here's the deal. And I've mentioned this, as I said, I mentioned this a bunch in A's wins. You got to give it credit when it happens to the other side. 0 walks. 0 walks. And, they don't give the bases away. Now, Boyle struck out 8. Great. He let up 5 hits in 5 innings, but he walked 4. So Ray had 8 hits. Am I pronouncing his name correctly? I think I am. You know what I'm talking about, from Milwaukee. And he didn't let up a single walk. And the A's couldn't get a big inning going, save for the 2-run home run by Rooker. Here you go. That's Rooker's. He has 30 home runs. He's batting .289. His OPS is .935. And yes, I understand we're not supposed to look at RBI anymore. RBIs aren't cool. But he has 87, and I like the idea of getting to 100 RBI. But, this was – both of these games had that sort of sensation of the A's are playing a better team. Remember when the A's kept getting their faces punched in all through May and June? It seemed like everybody was better than the A's then. But there was that sense in some of the games like, oh, this one got away, that one got away. But then there were games you were like, they're just better. They're just better. And that kind of happened today. Now, the best thing that happened to the A's, once again, the Angels stink. And they were no hit right up until the ninth inning. Now, I felt really, really badly for the Blue Jays pitcher, Bowden Francis, because he had a no-hitter going into the ninth inning, and he let up a home run to lead off on a 3-2 pitch, let up a home run, which broke up the no-hitter and broke up the shutout, and ultimately it broke up his complete game. But alas, there you go. There you go. The A's just did not look as good. And guess who's coming up to pitch tomorrow? Frankie Montas. Remember him? Why can't the A's get pitchers like him? You take a look around and you see how many former A's there are floating around the baseball universe, wondering why can't the A's get a Frankie Montas? Now, Montas has only pitched a handful of games this season. It's going to be his fifth start. So it's not like he's having a superstar season. For those of you who may not remember, Montas pitched 6 years with the A's from 2017 to 2022. Remember the last glory years. And along the way, he wound up making, he pitched 3 times in the postseason, including a game in the ill-fated division series of 2020. And then the A's traded him along with Lou Trevino for Ken Waldichuk, Luis Medina, Cooper Bauman, and J.P. Sears. So we can't walk around saying they got nothing from him. Now, Waldichuk has not pitched this year. But, J.P. Sears has been one of the top pitchers for the A's this year, and has been someone who's been giving the A's some good starts. So it's not like they were fleeced in the deal. It's not like they were fleeced. They got something back for him. And so today we have, the Sunday game, it is Estes versus Montas. So we're going to have to see what happens. Oh, by the way, I have to say, I just read his stats wrong. And for that, I must apologize. I read his stats wrong. I said it's going to be his fifth game. That is actually not true. So you got to give me a little bit, because I have a bunch of screens going up there. It's going to be his fifth start for the Brewers. It's going to be his 24th start of the season. I thought that looked weird. He was acquired by the Reds. He started the year with the Reds, pitched badly, but has pitched well for the Brewers. I thought that looked weird. So this couldn't. I know he's pitched more than that. He has. So there you go. Forgive me. All right. It's getting late on Saturday, and you already know what happens on Sunday, but I don't. So all I can ask is this: no spoilers. You've heard us talk about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we have something a little different from you. Now, through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then, with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel at any time. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sportsbook. That is FanDuel. Thank you for making Locked On A's your first listen today. Now check out Locked On MLB with me, your pal Sully. I'm getting you prepared for the Fall Classic. I got it covered every single day. You can find the link of Locked On MLB in the description, so you don't need to search for it. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Okay, now that is how you end a series. If you're going to lose a series 2-1, for whatever reason, it just feels better if the one game you won is the last one. At least it sort of takes the bad taste out of your mouth. It's like, okay, yeah, the Brewers were better, and those first two games, they showed it. But they showed guts today. First and foremost, let's give a hand to Joey Estes. Joey Estes did his job and did his job well. He pitched into the sixth inning. It wasn't his best game, obviously. This guy's thrown a complete game shutout this year. But he didn't let the game get out of hand. He let up two hits, one of which was a home run. And Gary Sanchez, Gary Sanchez, hit a home run in the second inning. And I just thought, oh boy, this is the way it's going to be. This is the way it's going to be. And, old friend Frankie Montas looked pretty good. 1, 2, 3 first, 1, 2, 3 second, 1, 2, 3 third. I thought, oh boy, it's going to be one of those games. But Estes did not let them rally in the third or fourth. And then the fourth inning was everything I would want to see in an A's rally. As I said, this is a team that relies way too much on the home run ball. So let's review what happened in the fourth. Lawrence Butler got the first hit. All right, no more perfect game. Base hit. And then Rooker, who's been on an absolute tear, he gets a hit. All right. And then Bleday gets a single. So you got bases loaded and nobody out. And I started thinking at that moment, how are they going to mess this up? How are they going to, and maybe it's just the way that the Milwaukee series has been going. How in the hay are they going to mess this up? Well, they didn't. Langoliers got the walk. Okay. Now I made it 2-1. I'm thinking, please don't have that be the only run that they scored. And then the wonderful thing happened. Brown singled, tied the game. They held Bleday at third, but now the game was tied with nobody out. And I thought, okay, I can see this is working. But I thought, it's going to be, that's all we're going to get. But Cameron hits a sac fly. Geloff hits the sac fly. Boom. They get a 4-run rally. They get the lead. They get a smart use of both of the out. And it was just smart, good, solid baseball from the A's. And Estes came out, and then, of course, in the seventh inning, Willie Adames hit his 23rd home run. He's a very good player, Adames. He's a very good player. It was a very good pickup from Milwaukee a few years ago. Now, Montas really only had that one bad inning. He pitched 6 innings. The only inning he had that they got to him at all was the 4th inning. But the A's, Holman let up that home run, but Ferguson pitched well. Miller came in, got him out of a jam in the 8th inning, then got himself a 1-2-3 ninth, and the A's wound up winning the game, salvaging the final game of the series. And with the fact that the Angels lost again, now the A's are 2 games out of the cellar. And that's not bad. Now, take a look at a couple of things about this game that really made me happy in terms of the A's winning a kind of game like this. They only let up 2 walks. Only 2 walks and 1 hit by pitch. So they weren't giving up a lot of base runners. They only allowed 4 hits, and 2 of them were home runs. And they struck out 9. But here's the other thing. They got the 4 runs. They got the 4 runs by getting hits, by getting walks, by getting sac flies, by playing smart baseball, and the entire game. Forget leaning too much on the home run. The entire game, the A's got 0 extra base hits. So Montas held them. I mean, in that, I'm just going to go back to that 4th inning. In the 4th inning, the A's got 1, 2, 3, 4 hits. 4 hits in that 4th inning. That was 4 hits the A's got, and let's see, and one walk. 4 hits and 1 walk in that inning. For the rest of Montas's 6 innings of play, he let up 1 hit and 1 walk. And by the way, struck out 7. So in 5 out of 6 innings, Montas threw 5 innings, no runs, 1 hit, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. He dominated the A's for 5 out of 6 innings. But that 1 inning he didn't, the A's took advantage and even used their outs correctly. Put the ball in play. Don't strike out too much. Don't walk too many. And the A's, by the way, committed 0 errors. So there you go. And against an excellent Milwaukee Brewers team, who, when they took the early lead, I thought, well, this is probably going to be a sweep. So there you go. The A's are out of the cellar by 2 games, partly because the Angels are just terrible. They lost 8-2 to Toronto. It's not like Toronto's a world beater. And on Monday, the A's have the day off. And the Angels, do the Angels play? No, the Angels do not play. So there's going to be no change there. We'll see. And Texas doesn't play either. So there's not going to be any change in the standings. And on Tuesday, the A's are heading to Cincinnati. They'll be playing the Reds. I'm going to be doing a show with Jeff Carr of Locked On Reds. We're going to be previewing the series. That'll be dropping probably Tuesday afternoon, just before game time. Meanwhile, the Angels, I'm sorry, I got to keep an eye on the Angels because I really want to get a little space out of the cellar. And the Angels are playing the Tigers. And there's something weirdly poetic about that because those are the 2 teams with the longest streak of losing seasons. And the Tigers are 1 game under 500. So if they could clobber the Angels, they could be in a situation they could be above 500 heading into September. But hey, salvage the final game in the series. Not perfect. Would have loved to have won the series, but at least it wasn't a sweep. And at least they won the kind of game we want to see them win. So check us out. We're going to do it up. We're going to drop another episode on Monday. And then on Tuesday, we're going to have the preview with Jeff Carr. So follow us at Locked On A's on Twitter or whatever it's called now. And you can follow me. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Talking about the Brewers-A's series, where the Brewers are better, but the A's pulled off a fine win. This has been Locked On A's. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.